Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Nope. Is that one? No, it's working.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I just want to ask you, why do you need more recognition? Because in your application, you state that you want the monument sign because it's the most efficient way to identify that it's in the building. So why do you think you need that additional level of recognition that it's there?
We don't think that first level is sufficient enough at all. That's why we want this variance. We just don't think it's sufficient to let people know where we are. And not only is that first monument sign going to be very small, our clearance center is going to be in the very rear of the building. It's like our customers aren't going to be able to come in and see a big Goodwill sign. So we want that sign there, so know we're there, and we'll have some small little directional signs with arrows to direct them right to the back of the building, because it's not like they're going to pull in and turn into a parking lot and be able to come in and shop. They're going to have to see our sign, pull in, and drive around all the way to the back of the building.
A brief follow-up.
Will those signs have Goodwill on it?
No, just arrows. Just be an arrow.
How is it going to designate your business first of all?
It'll be our Goodwill blue, like we use for our donation centers. So we'll have our standalone donation centers. We'll have a sign, and then we'll have blue arrows directing to where they can go to drop their donated goods off. So we'll have our Goodwill sign. They'll come in. They'll see our Goodwill blue arrow. That'll direct them where they need to go. Take a left around to the building, right to our store. It's a ways back. I mean, that our clearance center is in the way back of that building.
There's no face mask or the word Goodwill on those signs?
Right now there's no Smiling G. We would hope to have Goodwill on it with an arrow like we do at other places.
If that's the case, then no requires additional signage, right?
It's a directional sign. It wouldn't be an additional sign. We've already asked that question. Steve already submitted that to the town and said that was appropriate. Steve Kukaleski.
So you are permitted directional signs, but
Correct.
they cannot have any advertisements on it. So if it's the Goodwill blue with a white arrow, that'd be okay. Anything that says Goodwill or the Smiling G, that would not be permitted.
Okay, I can take that back and we can discuss that, absolutely.
Okay. The question I was going to ask you is, what's your anticipated business volume for that location?
Volume is what kind of volume? Traffic volume?
Yes.
Probably 300 to 400 transactions a day, depending on if that's how many people actually purchase something. So we can look at 300 to 400 transactions per day there.
Okay. Thank you. That's all that I have.
Have you looked at any other alternatives to the signage to make it blend more in with the signs that are already there?
We've had a lot of success with the signs that we develop and come up with, and we feel this sign is very appealing, is aesthetically nice and pleasing. Like I said, we just recently put one up in Camillus in Syracuse, New York, and it looks very good. And we've haven't had anything come up with that sign. We've got a lot of compliments on it, and it's just a very appealing sign. Not a lot of work to it at all.
The center that you opened in Syracuse, how long ago did you open that center?
A month ago.
Okay, so pre-shutdown
Yes, ma'am.
of COVID? Okay. And you were getting 300 people?
This is an attended donation center. So this isn't a retail location. This is one of our standalone attendance centers where customers can come into a drive-through, ring a bell, and we come out and service them and pick up their goods, and they drive off.
So they're purchasing these goods?
They're not purchasing them. It's just a drop-off donation center.
Okay, the one in Syracuse?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so but this is going to be retail, right?
This is going to be retail. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is the average amount of customers in your 50% off location?
It's about this. It's about half. Our Pittsford outlet is quite a small store. It's quite small in size, probably maybe 1,200 square feet in size. So it's quite small. It's It's quite small. So we're probably getting maybe 75 to 100 transactions there a day.
Okay.
So this center that you're proposing in Jefferson Road, that's supposed to take how many of these clearance 50% off or stores? Everything comes from the 50% off before it goes.
Yes, ma'am. We'll give it a second chance there.
So
So
is it this second chance from just the Pittsburgh store?
yes, just the Pittsford store. We send a lot of goods there. We get a lot of donations. So enough to fill up our 11,000 square foot clearance center.
So from the 50% off, you can then send it to.
Yes, ma'am.
From 1,200 to 11,000?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And there's a drive up for those customers?
There's a drive up.
What transactions will happen at this facility? Is it a donation center?
Nope, it's only a retail transaction center.
So you're
Yes, ma'am.
comparing Camillus, which really isn't the same thing now, right?
Well, I'm trying to talk about the sign and how it looks. And it's something different that we did. And I know we want to talk about aesthetics, how it's going to look in the community and what it's going to look like. And I think it's going to be very pleasing and very attractive to the area. I don't think it's going to stick out and be a sore thumb at all. I think it's going to look very, very good there.
Any questions from members of the board? You good? And this application is closed. We'll have discussion.
I think we need discussion. So for me, I completely understand why they need it. And the value of goodwill and everything they're doing, I like that. The only things that tug at me are the other direction, I think we were sort of talking about earlier, is that yes, they stay on their own, and I'd call it concern of future, if this leaves in 2 years, because they can say it's up to work on the third, chance sale of products and someone else has an extra sign here. Also take into account what Steve said, is that, this is a little bit unique compared to our regular signage request, because we're not typically at the signage request here. I'm a little bit torn, to be perfectly honest. I want to give them because I know all the good stuff they do, I'm sincerely.
I'd rather see the base on.
I'm happy with that too, if that's.
No.
Once you jump on the corner.
Do you have any applications for signage in the back?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I would agree with it. I would much rather see it.
Can I
Building
speak?
sign would get more mileage and visibility.
Justin raised your hand.
I'm okay with the idea of a building sign, but I'm willing to approve the application as is, because I get where Bob's coming from, I kind of see that juggling act, but on that juggling act, I'm leaning towards approving it because of some of the context that Supervisor Schultz gave with the fact that this is not a high-density sign area right now, so I'm less, to your point, Mr. Vice Chairman, about having that sign there in perpetuity. We're not talking about littering the area with signs. It's a pretty large.
Which is a concern that I definitely have.
Right, and I share that concern generally, but I don't have it here. I don't see it here, so I would approve it.
Where are you on the application?
I think it's like opening Pandora's box to an area. Because if this building that has, I don't know how many square footage left to rent, are we going to end up with 7 other monument signs versus perhaps maybe Buckingham Property putting in a whole other larger
More appropriate.
appropriate sign? They have one entrance in, 2 exits, one that's a right lane only. So you're going to have to go in one location. So I'm going to see all of these either because I got caught at the light and try to make the left.
John, where do you stand?
With it being around the back of the building, they're really not going to be able to, people on the street are going to impact it, correct?
They will not see it back then.
And they're not gonna go on Eagle Landing sign, right?
I know, that's, yeah, I can.
Maybe Eagle Landing type of an arrow type thing?
Well, talk about, directional signage on the property.
Do we have an application for that, or?
No. Right now, they would be, unbranded signs.
No.
All right.
I'm on the same way as Bob was with the, you know, if they don't make it in 2 years and then somebody else is gonna be in there, then nobody's gonna be there, this or that.
Well, we got 2 nays, right? So I need to help you for an agreement for approval. Trustee Brown.
I feel like I'm in the same boat that you are about. No, I just feel it's always like, I'm in the same boat you are, basically.
So what are you gonna vote?
I mean, given the amount of density there for the side, I don't know. For voting, yes.
I'll second it if you vote yes.
I'm really torn in saying this, but I'm gonna say yes.
John, are you for or against?
I'll say yes.
Okay, you made your motion. Just make sure that it clearly stipulates about being unique to the one business. And can we assign that to the space in the building? In other words, this applicant came in, they have a certain lease space in the building. Usually goes with ground. But in this case, can we say that this sign is for that space and that space only?
The problem with that, Mr. Chairman, is the space can be subdivided up
Right.
any which way they can with a, with a renovation permit. So which space do you,
Who gets the sign if they have a lot?
it stays with the property, as far as I,
The property, but we don't have any control over it.
Right? I mean, see, that is what.
Practically speaking, whoever purchases their space can control.
Right.
So they can control.
Well, but there's no rule saying that, we don't make a rule saying that. So that's why Doug's request is there.
But I see the point that if it's subdivided, those who own the part of the space.
Again, that creates the difficulty that I have.
Is there a way to put an expiration on a variance?
No. It's approved for the parcel.
that's my point. It goes with the parcel. So no matter what space they use, even if they put up another building on the property.
So the dilemma really is that we don't have control over having to do this, which again is where I'm saying the problem is.
But do we put a stipulation in there that says the sign can only be a certain size?
Well, it's as presented, so the size is limited to 7.5 by 5.5.
We could have done it.
So if they subdivided 10 companies, and then there was 10 companies out there with the size of that sign, then they'll take it back to us, right?
No, the space of the sign can be changed at any point. We don't have any control over it once the deeds are board.
But it can't be what is it, look at the multiple,
Reader board?
Can it be a reader board? If Goodwill leaves.
Well, you're permitted to have a reader board, which is a monument sign that has all the businesses on it, just one.
So they already have that.
They already have that, is the Eagle Landing monument sign.
We would need a second.
That's why they're here tonight for the second sign.
I gotta be honest, this is helping me with the decision here, because I think because of these complications and concerns that go along with it, even though it feels like it's unfair, I actually, as we talked about before, I had more trouble now with that. It's causing a lot of,
Well, the one, so like with this, so if we play it out, like say Goodwill goes out, I mean, the sign can't be any bigger than this, right?
without another variance.
Without another variance. So we at least are limiting, I mean, this is a pretty small sign in my opinion. I mean, looking at the dimensions, this is not a massive sign. So we do maintain that much control, we don't have to grant a future company a variance for a larger sign.
Well, hey, just for clarity, it's high by just shy of 6 feet wide. It is 6 feet wide. That's not tiny. At least not gigantic. I think the problem,
The scale's not right on the picture, basically. It's bigger
I don't know if the scale works, but I think that picture was bigger than the next picture.
than
Can you, Eric, just a quick question from a legal standpoint, can you place a restriction on it that, so I'm reading the New York State town laws right now regarding variances, and it says such conditions, the Board of Appeals shall, in granting of both use variance and area variance, have the authority to impose such reasonable conditions and restrictions as are directly related to and incidental to the proposed use of the property. Such conditions shall be consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance or local law and shall be imposed for the purpose of minimizing any adverse impact such variance may have on the neighborhood or community. Could you put it on the use of like a community, the proposed use is for a community retail center, a community organization retail center, or something like that? Whereas you're not specifically naming Goodwill, but in other words, that specific use. And therefore, if they come in with something else, I'm going to make it up, Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A wouldn't get a sign up there, nor would an auto parts store or anything else. Can you get detailed in the use? Was wondering if that's such a rule you can place on. It's technically an area variance, correct? Right. This thing was specific to either use or to both use or area variances. I'm just wondering. It says for the proposed use of the property. Can we get specific instead of just saying commercial use? Can it be specific community? Or I don't know how you would describe what Goodwill does. They're not the only one who does it, right? But what that particular use is, could we get that specific?
It's difficult because it runs with the lot, which it's not just Goodwill, and Goodwill doesn't even own a lot.
No, I understand that. I'm saying the proposed use. So there's other, I can't think of what they're called. There's other organizations besides Goodwill that provide these types of centers. Salvation Army, thank you. No, the variance is a condition on the variance.
Condition on variance is that the sign face can only be used to advertise a charitable organization.
Yes. So they're nonprofit, right?
I'm very happy with that.
I like that.
So Eric, are you willing to help Christian with the way to define
I want to make sure it's written properly.
So the way, when I just looked up on a bunch of different definitions, they're considered charitable thrift stores is a generic term for, and so it wouldn't limit them to just the clearance center. They could also do one of the regular stores there. They could do their 50% store there. A church could come, what's the mission the mission in the city, that Open Door Mission, thank you. Salvation Army. There's a lot of places that could come in and do the same thing, but it's basically a charitable thrift store is the generic term for what the use that they're proposing.
The other question, Eric, does this give us a slippery slope? I mean, it only be used for auto parts stores and another one there.
Well, I mean, we actually have that restriction in some parts of our town code. So for instance, the use of specifically like dealer showrooms can only be on Jefferson or on West Henry Road between Jefferson and Lehigh Valley or Lehigh Station. And oh, by the way, it has to have frontage on that road. And, you know, so, I mean, there have been other restrictions that are pretty narrow in terms of scope of use.
We have to be careful here, and I understand that. We have car dealerships in a certain area where we have the restrictions put out, where you're pretty comfortable that that area will be used nothing but car dealerships. But here, you have to be really careful, because now if they leave, so now we got a sign that possibly nobody can use.
Yes, right. That would need to be removed, I guess. Or used in the charitable stores. This is where I'm saying this whole lot of concern about it.
Right. Yeah, that brings up the question of,
Right.
Next time we get two ground signs on business, we just say, well, it's only allowed for that type of business.
Yeah, I am concerned about
I thought that was part of, like, it ran with the ground and not the building, or the business. It ran with the ground or the parking, and the condition that was.
Yeah.
well, that's why it's not specific to a particular business itself. It's a particular category of business. But again, I don't know that answer.
The approval is related to the land, not the business.
So we can't hold, it doesn't hold water, we can't do that, according to what I think you're saying.
Well, except that you can, the question, you can definitely do it for a particular business use, right? Because we have that in our code all over the place. The question is, how narrow can I make it?
Right, but it might fly to the entire lot. I don't know if you can.
That I absolutely agree with. It does apply to the entire lot.
Okay, we're gonna table this application till next month then. So the attorney can look up the legalities of our conditions. Okay? We are at 7:31.
I was gonna say.
Okay?
Thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Are we offline, Steve?
Hold on.